Hello, it's Tessa, one of the news editors here at Manx Radio. Today we're talking freeholds. Imagine if you were paying management fees for a property you lived in to an off-island company and didn't feel that you were getting good value for money. Well, that's how many of the residents of Saddle Mews felt, according to their MHK, but perhaps no more. The freehold of Saddle Mews has been bought by the Saddle Mews Residents Association after an approach by Four Seasons Healthcare. Sarah Maltby has described it as a true example of people power.
The freehold for Saddle Mews has been managed by Four Seasons. Four Seasons is a company in the UK, and very recently Four Seasons have decided to sell their freehold to Saddle Mews Residents Association, and this is very welcome news for the Residents Association, and they were very pleased to be able to purchase that freehold, and now that is now owned by the residents who live within Saddle Mews.
So on a practical basis, what does this mean for those residents?
It means that the management fees that were previously being paid to Four Seasons are now collected by the Saddle Mews Residents Association, and they then are able to distribute those funds appropriately to fund maintenance programs within Saddle Mews. That wasn't happening before. The management fee was going off island to the Four Seasons, and some of that money was being reinvested in the area. However, it was certainly not giving good value for money to those residents who felt their management fee was not being spent in a way that they would have expected.
When we talk about management fees, that's money that's going to, in this case, this was going to the company, but there's an expectation that it would be reinvested. So for things like insulation, upkeep of properties, is that where the money effectively perhaps should have been spent, but where the residents weren't seeing that it was spent, if that makes sense?
Yes, about 6 years ago now, residents felt that they wanted to make a stand. They felt that their management fees were not being spent in the way that they expected. And so a committee was established. That committee became management company for the residents to be able to choose whether they wanted to continue to pay for their fees to the Four Seasons company or whether they wanted to put their management fees into this company, which was then owned by the Saddle Mews Residents Association. Some residents decided to continue to do what they were doing traditionally, with paying their management fees to Four Seasons, and the other residents decided to pay into this Residents Association. And it's that Residents Association now which is being given or has bought from Four Seasons the freehold for the Saddle Mews village. So this is a really exciting development because it means that the residents who were formerly paying their money to Four Seasons for the management of the village will now be able to hopefully pay their money to the Saddle Mews Residents Association, the company, that limited company, to be able to actually go on to better protect their asset and look after their village, whereas before they felt they had to pay their money to Four Seasons because that was what they were expected to do, but they weren't getting a good return on their value on their money. Whereas now, because of the management company that's set up within Saddle Mews Residents Association, the money that's paid out is far more accountable. There's accounts that are audited every year, so all the residents can see exactly where the money's going, what it's being spent on, and they can obviously then factor in work such as boiler repairs, window repairs, door repairs, and that's been happening anyway for the residents who've been paying their money into the Saddle Mews Residents Association. They've already been benefiting from this management of their management fees, but now the residents who were paying to Four Seasons will now also be able to benefit from this arrangement.
There is 122 apartments down in Saddle Mews, so this is actually quite a big group of people that will be affected by this sale and by, as you say, the positive things that could come from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2022, I was given leave to introduce via the House of Keys to bring forward a right to enfranchisement private members bill. Now, that was in order to be able to support the residents to buy the freehold from the Four Seasons company. And I've been working very actively with the residents to try to get that private members bill through in order for them to be able to apply that legislation to say, well, actually, we're not getting what we expected from our management fees. We want to buy the freehold from 4 Seasons, and this is one way to be able to do it through a piece of legislation that would allow them to be able to the right to the enfranchisement. So I have been working very closely with the residents since 2022 on this, and then it just so happened that within the last few weeks, things have changed for 4 Seasons, and they've approached the village to say, would you like to buy the freehold? So, this has been something that they've been campaigning for a number of years, and they have got their act together. They have set up their own management company. They've done really well to be able to establish themselves, especially these are just volunteers. These are just residents that live in the area who have had this, who have been empowered to come together as a committee and to take on this mammoth task. And I've been happy to obviously be able to help and support them with the mechanisms I can help them with, which is legislation. Now that piece of legislation has been adopted now by the DOI, and that is still being progressed, and that we'll hopefully see that in the months to come when they will introduce that as part of their housing legislation that I'm sure will be coming forward. But for my constituents right now, we don't know. We no longer need that piece of legislation because events have unfolded in a different way. I've been to lots of different meetings with the residents, and they feel that that's certainly helped to move things along, and certainly got the attention of 4 Seasons when they knew that there was this piece of legislation being proposed and drafted up. But of course, it's all power to the people here, and they've certainly done a great job at being able to organise themselves very professionally and to be able to get themselves into a position where the freehold was basically offered to them for a tiny amount of money, and they obviously took that opportunity to take the management fees to the residents.
I guess timing of the situation's helped there, but there was the will, wasn't there, of the people to do something about it, which is really positive. So a good news story, hey?
It really is a good news story, and it's something that when I was campaigning and canvassing, people mentioned to me that they would really like to see this change because they just felt like they were just not getting value for their money. They felt very distant to the company. They didn't feel like they were being listened to, or that their concerns weren't being actioned. And that's why together this company was established by the committee to say, we're actually going to do something about this. And obviously I've been very happy as a legislator to get involved, to be able to see what I can do to try and to change the provisions within the legislation. And getting that leave to introduce was certainly a great way to sort of kick things off, to say we're serious now. We really do want this to be able to come together, to be able to ensure that residents are paying their management fees and they're getting what they expect from the management fees, and that's exactly now what's going to happen. So it's a great news story. I'm really pleased that my constituents are obviously pleased, and that they have regular public meetings where the residents who maybe haven't bought into this idea and were still paying their management fees to the 4 Seasons, they're obviously going to have questions, and those questions are very, very welcome by the committee. They want to be able to answer them, and they want to be able to help them to understand what they're actually going to get now, and the benefits of actually having residents owning their own freehold in their own village and being looking after their own affairs. It's certainly a very good news story.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.